Radio 4. It's 2 minutes past 10. Now, if you've got time for a coffee break, why not take it now and sit down and listen?
Then came the day of unleavened bread, when the Passover lamb must be killed. And Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and prepare the Passover for us, that we may eat." So they went and prepared the Passover.
Preparing a Place, a meditation for Good Friday with Hannah Gordon, Peter Barkworth and Peter Firth.
Now, as they sat and ate, Jesus took bread, blessed it and broke it, and gave it to them and said, "Take, eat. This is my body." Then he took the cup, and when he'd given thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank from it. And he said to them, "This is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for many. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you. By this all will know that you are my disciples. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down his life for his friends."
Strange to look around this table and see you together for the last time. I wonder what you've learned over the past 3 years. We've shared everything, the food, the sun, the nights, and those bright early mornings, waiting for the bread of day to be given. You are to become some of the faces of my Father's love. You are all I have to work with and leave. But you are enough. I pray that you will be enough. I pray that something of what we've shared through all these 3 years will keep you true to what you only partly understand. Tonight, I watch you sharing the food and drink of friendship. I wonder how you will remember these moments when the friendship that we share is put to the test.
Your friend is your needs answered. He is your field which you sow with love and reap with thanksgiving. When he is silent, your heart ceases not to listen to his heart. For without words in friendship, all thoughts, all desires, all expectations are born and shared with joy that is unacclaimed. When you part from your friend, you grieve not, for that which you love most in him may be clearer in his absence, as the mountain to the climber is clearer from the plain. And let there be no purpose in friendship save the deepening of the spirit. For love, that seeks aught but the disclosure of its own mystery, is not love, but a net cast forth, and only the unprofitable is caught. And let your best be for your friend. If he must know the ebb of your tide, let him know its flood also. For what is your friend that you should seek him with hours to kill? Seek him always with hours to live. For it is his to fill your need, but not your emptiness.
My song is love unknown, my Saviour's love to me, love to the loveless shown that they might lovely be. Oh, who am I that for my sake my Lord should take frail flesh and die? He came from his blessed throne, salvation to bestow. But men made strange and none longed for Christ would know. But oh, my friend indeed, who at my need his life did spare.
When Jesus had said these things at supper, he was troubled in spirit and said, "Most assuredly I say to you, one of you will betray me. The Son of Man indeed goes just as it is written of him. But woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been good for that man if he'd never been born."
If he'd never been born. And yet, there must be someone to betray me. It wouldn't be life without betrayal. The wound of human loneliness is betrayal by a friend. Yet you're all my friends. Peter with your useless bravado, James and John longing for high places in heaven, and Thomas, you'll be looking for power in the dark holes of life. But Judas, there's a special place for you. You are necessary to me. Without you, I can't taste the final disappointment. That of giving all and seeing the gift exchanged for a bag of metal blood. I pray for you, Judas, for people must have an absolute sign of their lostness, and you are that sign.
I have lost you, leader, friend. The way you lose landmarking poplars when roads dip and bend. I tired of the journey, broke for lunch, and slept it out under a hedgerow. A jaded day's no use for traveling, so I traded more silver, not to move on. Somewhere ahead, beyond my life, your branches bend, beckoning and unseen, promising all that I slept through. Friends always promise more than we can embrace, and less than we need to keep us going straight.
Let
And when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Then they came to a place which was named Gethsemane. And he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." And he prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. And he said, "Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will." Then he came and found them sleeping, and said to Peter, "Simon, are you sleeping? Could you not watch 1 hour?" Again he went away and prayed. And when he returned, he found them asleep again.
So little. They understand me so little. It's almost like any other night for them. And you, Father, are telling me that I must go the rest of this way alone. That these, my dear and only friends, are not yet ready for your kind of life. Your kind of love, which heals as it burns, but burns as it heals. Father, am I ready? Am I ready to burn with that kind of intense flame? Can my fragile human mirror express your glory on its face? Your power and healing, yes. Your joy and wisdom, yes. But your patience, your vulnerability, your endurance, your humility, Father. Can I bear it in my mind as well as in my body? Yet this is your nature, and I will it so. Sleep on, my friends. You could not have helped me. Only Judas can do that now. Doing a necessary thing.
Whoever I kiss, he is the one. Take him and lead him away safely.
Whoever I kiss, he is the one. Whoever I kiss, he is the one. Whoever I kiss, he is the one. I'll always love you. Always love you.
How could you
Always,
do it?
always.
How could you?
I didn't know it would end like this. End like this.
If you hadn't said that, I wouldn't have
I
done
thought
that.
it was for the best, for the best.
Said that.
I thought it was for the best, the best.
Couldn't you understand?
The best should be forgiven,
Couldn't
should
you
be forgiven.
understand?
Even the best should be forgiven.
How could you do
should
it?
be forgiven.
Could
should
you?
be forgiven.
How could
should
you?
be forgiven.
How
Should be
could you?
forgiven.
How
Should be
could
forgiven.
you?
Should be
How
forgiven. Should be forgiven.
Greetings, Rabbi.
And they led Jesus away to the high priest. And the chief priests and all the council sought testimony against Jesus to put him to death, and found none. And the high priest asked him, saying to him, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed?" And Jesus said, "I am. And you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the power, and coming with the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, "What further need do we have of witnesses? You've heard the blasphemy. What do you think?" And they all condemned him to be worthy of death.
You hypocrites, you raise your hand in very public prayer, and with the other you stuff a widow's offering into your purse or dismiss a beggar. You are so blind to the needs of the human soul, so unforgiving and so very fearful of the love that my Father has, even for you. You think your positions are secure here, priests, administrators, temple servants, but you have degraded your own calling. You think I threaten you, and all will be well when you've disposed of me. How stupidly wrong you are. It is not I who judge you. You are your own judges. And by the laws you represent, you are hypocrites. You have turned them into rights and privileges rather than channels of life. For 1,000 years, my Father's laws have been the opportunity for his love to touch us. And you have used them to create religious people with the spirit of this world. That's always the danger for religious people. But it's the flock which suffers when the shepherds are false.
You are the salt of the earth. Gather it together in heaps, lest it be polluted. Keep it in the jar. Let society rot in its sin and be redolent of its putrefaction. The saints in their pristine whiteness shall be gathered together as a memorial pillar to me. You are the light of the world. Guard it carefully, lest the dark puts it out. Build a beautiful shrine for the lamp of God, where it may be kept safe for you to admire. Do not take it into the storm to look for the lost. The wind might blow it out. Let the lost look out for themselves. If they are lucky, they will see the chinks of light through the shutters and try to come in. You shall be my witnesses, so witness faithfully on Sundays, come what may, and at as many meetings as you can, give money, make long prayers, sing hymns, and listen to sound sermons. Teach my lambs in particular to get their priorities right and keep the fold nice and tidy. Then it will be easy to find you when I come back, already gathered from the rest and glorifying God in your holiness. You are my body. Treat it gently, keep it warm, make sure it gets enough to eat and lives respectably. Keep it out of politics, of course, and the crush of common people. Avoid confrontation with the realities of evil. One crucifixion was enough.
Salt of the earth, as witnesses call us, we are the church, the body of Christ. We have been called from life's easy places, all to be true to the gospel you gave. We are not bound by endless tradition, tempted to find an easier path, but free to respond to God's Holy Spirit, free to become Christ's body on earth. Here in this place, new light is streaming. Now is the darkness vanished away. See in this days our fears and our cravings, brought here to you in the light of this day. Gather us in the lost and forsaken, gather us in the blind and the lame. Call to us now, and we shall awaken, we shall arise at the sound of our name. Not in the dark of buildings confining, not in some heaven light is away, but here in this place the new light is shining. Now is the kingdom, now is the day. Gather us in and hold us forever. Gather us in and make us your own. Gather us in, all peoples together, fire of love in our flesh and our
Now, as Peter was below in the courtyard, one of the servant girls of the high priest came. And when she saw Peter warming himself, she looked at him and said, "You also were with Jesus of Nazareth." But he denied it, saying, "I neither know nor understand what you are saying." And he went out on the porch, and a cock crowed. And the servant girls saw him again, and began to say to those who stood by, "This is one of them." But he denied it again. And a little later, those who stood by said to Peter again, "Surely you are one of them, for you are a Galilean, and your speech shows it." But he began to curse and swear, "I do not know this man of whom you speak." And a second time the cock crowed. And Peter called to mind the words that Jesus had said to him. Before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times. And when he thought about it, he wept.
I don't blame you, Peter. I can't. All you can see is things falling apart, the group and the friendships and the hope of better things, not just for us Jews, but for anyone who wonders why they've been born at all. Such hopes you had, of getting answers you could understand. Even waiting for them was better than the smell of fish. And such loyalty you promised. If everyone else failed me, you said, you'll be with me at the last. Oh, Peter, what a lesson you have to learn. And millions like you. The testing of promises has found you incomplete. The certainties of love have crumbled under the pressures of fear. Well, we must drink this poverty of spirit to the dregs. You in your way, and I in mine. Cry now, as you remember the girl who questioned you. Remember, too, she also does the Father's will.
In the morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council. And they bound Jesus, led him away, and delivered him to Pilate. Then Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And he answered and said to him, "It is as you say." And Pilate said to the crowd, "What then do you want me to do with him whom you call King of the Jews?" So they cried out again, "Crucify him." Then Pilate said to them, "Why, what evil has he done?" And they cried out more exceedingly, "Crucify him." So Pilate, wanting to gratify the crowd, released Barabbas to them, and he delivered Jesus, after he had scourged him, to be crucified.
My Father, nothing can stop it now. And Pilate knew, he couldn't stand against the tide. Not a bad man, not bad, probably wondered where my army was. They say I undermine true religion. Yes, it's hard to love an enemy. It's hard to forgive a friend who's betrayed you. It's hard to see that being human means that you change and get reborn or die forever. It's harder to be changed than to observe the right rituals. It's hard to wind back the way of the past. Oh, my Father, forgive this man who is afraid behind his authority. Possess me of the love which powers the stars and shapes the human heart. Let love now be recognized.
As they led him away, they laid hold of a certain man, Simon, a Cyrenian, who was coming from the country. And on him they laid the cross, that he might bear it after Jesus. And a great multitude of the people followed him, and women who also mourned and lamented him. But Jesus, turning to them, said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For indeed the days are coming in which they will say, 'Blessed are the barren, the wombs that never bore, and the breasts which never nursed.' Then they will begin to say to the mountains, 'Fall on us,' and to the hills, 'Cover us.' For if they do these things in the green wood, what will be done in the dry?"
Yes, my daughters, you were there at the births and the burials. Sickness and waiting are not strange to you. You know your children's secrets better than their fathers do. To have borne children is to begin to understand the pain of the world, as bone of your bone begins to grow and lose the straight look of a child and become some other fallen thing. Cry, my daughters. Your tears are good for me. They tell me that you understand the stuff of life, the giving and unfairness, and sudden joy and loss, the waiting and the caring. Your tears come from the well of life, which you give and give to every generation. My mother is everywhere.
How long we waited for a son, my man and I. 4 times the seed miscarried. Half formed, the babe was cast away. But to my anguished prayers at last, Jehovah bowed his head. And beautiful as gold, my child lay curled within my arms, curving his tiny fingers round my thumb, laughing, crying. His infant breath was mine, and mine was his. Deep the delight, the quiet joy of tiny mouth seeking my breast, fulfillment for us both, as he fed there, and I knew peace. So blind and deaf with happiness, I did not hear of the decree, knew naught, until they came and dragged him from my arms, raising the sword. There in our home, beside the fire where late I suckled him, they slaughtered him. His radiant young blood outpoured in death. The long, grey years slipped by like ghosts. Never again quickened my womb with child, nor woke my heart to life, nor love again. And now I stand upon the hill called Golgotha to tell you why I hated you, young Galilean. For it was you he sought, that butcherer, that Herod. Because of you my babe was killed. You, Jesus. All through the years I hated you, I hated you. Till now, when as I heard them shouting, "Crucify him," my heart sang loud for joy. My babe at last avenged, I cried, and took a stone to throw. But you fell, low beneath the burden of your cross. And suddenly I saw your face and looked into your eyes. My suffering was there, engulfed in understanding, lost in pain beyond the compassion of a human heart. You bore the burden of all others' grief, and as you went, I knew you meant to die for me. It was as if my child was suddenly within my arms again, seeking the comfort of my breast. The empty years were fled away. I thought I heard his infant laugh, who died for you. But now, as you too walked the way of death, we shared the cross you carried, part of a mighty pattern, you, my babe, and me. I knelt, a woman brought to life from death, as you passed by to Calvary.
And when they had come to the place called Calvary, there they crucified him and the criminals, one on the right hand and the other on the left. Then Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. My God, why have you forsaken me?" It is finished.
All is done. Being human is done. And being a person for God, a body for love, to the end, is finished. Knowing the ending in my body, like all things of the earth, is it ending? Or is it beginning?
And when Jesus had cried out with a loud voice, he said, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." And having said this, he breathed his last.
Preparing a Place came from Clifton Cathedral and was compiled and written by Peter Firth. The readers were Peter Barkworth, Hannah Gordon, and Peter Firth, and the musical director was Christopher Walker. It was produced by Julia Wills.